War Thunder, the military online action game, has received this year's first major update. The branch of unique South African vehicles is now available. Upgraded MBTs, rapid-wheeled armored cars, and...
Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Tylarius, a.k.a. Ty Killington. Yeah, man. All right, today's video, we got a banger, man. You already know. This is the most epic approach ever to the Perico heist. This is the full send approach, as I have coined it or termed it. Yeah, so I was live streaming this. We're doing the Perico heist. We got the tequila, no big deal. It's on hard mode. What makes this special, though, is that instead of kind of being, you know, particular or surgical with this, we just full send it. It's just a full send. And I kind of just, you know, take the heist and just, you know, make it my, never mind. But yeah, you guys know what to do. Subscribe, turn notifications, smash that like button. It's a banger. I'm going to stick with you this whole way through. We're going to, like, you know, commentate for this. But yeah, here we go. So it's the long fin approach. Usually I would just park the boat right here, go in, get the cocoa, and get the boat, and then go on back to the trench tunnel. But no, full send, baby. Full send. And I don't know how, but I did not get spotted, right? Even though I just launched this boat in there like this. And then I kind of just play the heist as it's dealt. I had a couple of really close calls, so if it wasn't for my cat-like reflexes, and, you know, just being able to handle this as it comes at me, you know, it could have been a problem.
Say it again. Yes, sir.
Hey, I noticed when I was back there playing last time at the action, you want to show some of the movies you got back there?
No, I got to go through and pick the ones that I'm not getting rid of.
If you do, how much you sell? Because I used to sell movies.
I don't know. It just depends. I got to come up with a price.
Let me know.
All right.
I ain't got no cable now, man. I just watch movies, man. I got TV.
All right.
You need some movies.
problem. We have 2 cocoa stacks right here. I have to get in there. And there's cones of vision all around me. I got cameras, I got players or NPC, bad guys or whatever. So I have to kind of like navigate my way around this. And again, I'm streaming and I'm still kind of cheesing over that entrance right there, over that launch of the long fin. I can no longer use the long fin. I could probably. I think it was still in the water, but we're past that now. So I'm gonna have to go on foot over here. But yeah, totally just cheated. I was kind of a little disorientated because disoriented. Yeah, there we go. It's making words up over here. It was splendiferous. Anyways, though, but yeah, so I'm trying to get this cocoa right here. This one NPC is kind of messing around. I'm like, yeah, I want a time limit here. We have to, and right here's my first call, our first close call. He actually saw me. I missed my first shot. I was able to take care of it, though. I thought he was
going to all $2.
Guards, but no, we were good. So
all the clones are $2.
You don't get too many of those. Usually, you might get one.
Hello? I didn't. My phone did it. I'm just in the office. Yeah, if I can, but I don't want to do all that long process. I was gonna walk in the back door and get the job. I don't want. I don't want to do no job service. I don't like them people. Jobs. I don't want to do no temporary service people. Yes, ma'am. Appreciate it.
I read you something.
First time, no? Like returning to Honeymoon Island with benefit of wisdom and experience and heavy munitions. But remember, this is second chance for Mr. Rubio too. He too will be ready. Now, we concentrate. You will be ashore soon. GPS tracker confirmed. I have your position. I will also access compound CCTV once you are inside. Say so, Capitan. You know, I think Mr. Romeo is the best thing that ever happened to us. And we are worst thing ever happened to him, huh? Enemy helicopters inbound. people that's just going to be on passive mode, right? They're going to hunt you. Don't even follow me. Boy, that guy's wow! Get the fuck out of here! Look at that shit that he driving. Freaking slow ass sports car, bro. Oh, you talking about me? Yeah, you. Yeah, that's my baby. I'm about to sell. I'm about to sell. I feel my money. Go on, bro. You're the Patrick Curse, right? So, like, you gonna let that old head come crazy about the car? That's crazy. What did he say? He said he called you a scrub. You a scrub with a passion, but you scared to smoke, bro. Exactly, my nigga. Like, you little bitch, go ahead. I'm about to call another car. I'm out of the garage. Don't hate me, bro. Oh, man. Yo, Evans is for you. Yeah. Oh shit, I'm at that. See, I'm at that. See, look, right there. Look, right. I got 1.2 in cash, and I got 1.5 in cash, and I got 1.5 with a pay. All I have to do is sell one car, but I'm about to sell another car. Let me see. Next time I can sell all my cars. And just keep my cars that I want. I might sell any car I got. And just keep like 2 or 3. And if I get them again, then I'm just get them again. No. So I'm gonna see how much they is first though. Like they go like 100, so now I'm gonna see if you want me to sell us or not. Yeah. Sell it. Alright. Okay. There's a photo. This shit a shark though. This shit ass for you? Alright, I'm selling. Now I'm gonna see how much this shit costs.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you are there, okay. Yes, Mandy?
Buddy, spinning out. Quick entry, I said it's time for it once, eh? Arms out, let's go.
Who the fuck is this?
Over there. And bring it, sweet. Go on.
Hey, hold it. Look at this car. Oh! Cracky. Okay. Yeah, this shit got a big upgrade and all. Like, I swear, Chris. I don't think I'm gonna sell this.
should I sell us? Business upgrade and all that. Don. Well, I could say currently I'm trying to sell as much as I could to get money. So I can upgrade my stuff and get more money for me. Whoa, move, my nigga, the fuck? Hollywood. They weird, bro. Now, look his ass. Look his dumb ass. Oh, yeah, son. I could easily get up to here. Slow. Shut the fuck up. I'm slow. I'm slow. This is your car. I'm gonna get your ass. Hell, if I'm gonna kick your ass. And I take your car back. It's your car faster than mine. Your car faster than mine. Sound like a mommy boy. Shut the fuck up. Oh, my man's left the system. Oh, shit. You need a bitch like you. I'm a bonus with us. I'm a bonus with us. You need a fucking face. So I should have fellas. Hey, bro. Yeah, I see what I said. Oh, man, I should have get my lot. It's not that, he really drove all the way over here and did that. I'm not gonna sell his car, like. I don't have to worry about that. Square it up. You probably don't make no money. You probably never. Like, what wrong with right? Yo, some straight bullshit, bro. You too much of this shit, man. They said they come on my we come and they trying to focus on they trying to do us. Well, but do what I could do. My purpose, I believe, I could put the middle just trying to it's the fun. Cause I left, man. I'm gonna get to work just like I did. So, but you really don't know how to spell, man. That's the same thing from earlier. Yeah, my boy. Yeah, my boy. Well, bro, I don't know about that. That's why he said that. He just said, ooh. I went 18 gas. And I did $1 billion worth of damage. And it's still blowing up. I don't know, 45,000 worth of damage. No, I did 1 million. This change. Somebody did 3 million. Oh, I did 2 million. So I was okay. Yeah, wow. Super. Oh, I forgot I had to fly. Hey, yo, how many people are talking right now? Damn. Nah, cause I was about to say I could do it out. Cause but I was in this session for how long? I think it was me and this whole time, right? Oh no, wait, no, it's no, it's not. It's Danny's all new people. I've been in this session the whole time. Oh, you just started. Oh shit. Alright, so you know what I was talking about when I was talking about the motherfucking, like selling our cars and shit, right? Yeah, come over here, I'm at the casino. Hey, whoever want to be gay there at the casino, we're not going to shoot you. We just want to go get some people. We all gotta get this on. I want to do what we did last time. This is swagger area, right? Yeah, it was rocking area. I ain't gonna lie, that's just power that everybody started leaving, man. The upgrade, you know what's, like, you know what you was talking about one? About the, armored cars and all this shit, like, kind of increase the muscle. Damn. Nah, ain't nobody on. Hey, if somebody know how to do the armored car shit, like how to upgrade it, like do the steps and all that, bro. I'm not gonna tell me, bro. I'm talking that shit right now. See this. Yo, I'll be right back. But that boy, his ass look how he did. Blick. I land off my key, my blick, I said, yeah. That was good. process. Yeah. I'm at the front of the thing. Do you use this guy? Yeah. 2K20?
If you want them to be treated with respect, it's wrong disguise. Just be thankful you are still breathing, yes?
Hi, a friend or family member who recently traveled with Marriott recommended you to receive a complimentary week vacation.
Even just in the immediate kind of wingspan, that can be very chaotic, right? Yes. People can be talking to each other, people can be talking over each other, right? Yes. The suspect may be saying some things, right? Yes. Bystanders may be saying some things, right? Yes. In the chaos, it's easy to miss some things, right? In certain instances, yes, depending on the severity of what's going on. I'd like to publish part of the body-worn camera. It's Officer King's body-worn camera, starting at 2021-01. I'd like you to see if you can tell me what Mr. Floyd says in this instance. Hear what he said? No, I couldn't make it out. Does it sound like he says, I ate too many drugs? Listen again. I can't make that up, no. So in the chaos of a situation, things can be missed, right? Yes. Did you review and study the body-worn cameras like very closely yourself?
I've seen all of them. I've reviewed most of them closely, yes.
Okay. And did you attempt to understand and hear what various parties were saying at various times?
Yes.
Did you ever hear Mr. Floyd say, I ate too many drugs?
No.
Like to publish Exhibit 1007, and I'm going to ask you, sir, to listen to Mr. Floyd's voice. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Did it appear that Mr. Floyd said, I ate too many drugs?
Yes, I
And he got the investigator for prosecutors for the state to agree. That's what George Floyd is saying. That's what he heard. I ate too many drugs. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae is joining us live from Minneapolis tonight. I wasn't expecting this. Blindsided by all of this. To me, if 1 or 12 jurors agree with what Eric Nelson believes George Floyd is saying, this is huge.
Blindsided is the right word, Vinny. We've watched these videos over and over again. We've read transcripts of what's in these videos, but I'm sure even the state didn't expect that this is what defense counsel for Derek Chauvin, Eric Nelson, was going to ask this witness, or he might have been better prepared for that question, and not even just to say, I don't know, and then the special agent who agreed with the defense counsel. But these jurors, they took note. And I can tell you right before this type of testimony, some of them had checked out a little bit. There were some that were looking around the room, weren't paying as close attention. It didn't seem from their body language. One juror had taken out lotion and was rubbing it on her hands. And then when this clip was played, they were all taking note. And not just when it was played the first time, but then when the longer clips were played with the special agent's testimony, first on cross and the thing that you just played where he actually agreed that this is what was played, but then also what happened on redirect.
Horrendous for prosecutors. This moment is horrendous for prosecutors. So now you get your opportunity to rehabilitate the witness. What happens?
The state prosecutor who was doing this redirect then asked the witness just to listen a little bit longer, to listen for what was said. Didn't make any suggestions, because I think power of suggestion is really huge here, but said, let me play a 10-second clip of this. And after that, the special agent Ryerson was able to make a suggestion of what he says he actually is hearing. So this is after he agreed with the defense counsel that it was I ate too many drugs. Then he said after listening to a longer clip, it really sounded like George Floyd was saying, I didn't take any drugs, I had no drugs.
Please understand. Please stop that breeze. Get up on the sidewalk,
So the record should reflect that we've played through 2021-10 with the quote that you were asked about appearing really at 2021-01, correct?
Yes.
Having heard it in context, are you able to tell what Mr. Floyd is saying there?
Yes, I believe Mr. Floyd was saying, I ain't doing no drugs.
So it's a little different than what you were asked about when you only saw a portion of the video, correct?
Yes, sir.
Again, something this jury was taking note of. Vinny, I can tell you I can't tell the difference between one or the other. Just depending on how you listen to it, it does sound like either one of these could be what is being said, but I can say that that second interpretation is more in keeping what we heard George Floyd say in different parts of the video. When he is confronted about possibly being high or doing drugs, he denies it. So it seems to be in keeping with what he said earlier in the video more clearly.
Yeah, for folks who've been watching Court TV, it may remind them of another trial. We had a situation like this. Todd Mullis was the defendant, and the prosecutor played a recording of Todd Mullis. I'm not going to get into that whole issue, but we've seen something like this before. Let's bring in our special guests who are joining us tonight. In New York, criminal defense attorney, civil rights attorney Ron Kuby is back with us. And in Orlando, Florida, wrongful death and co-counsel, wrongful death attorney and co-counsel for the families of Trayvon Martin and Andre Hill, Natalie Jackson returns as well. Can we do this, Ron and Natalie? I'm going to play you the clip one more time. Again, the two versions that are out there are I ate too many drugs or I ain't do no drugs. We're going to listen to it twice now. So you'll hear it once, then you'll hear it a second time. Let's listen. Ron Kuby, I'm interested in your take on what you heard and what this issue means and what it could do.
Well, here's a pro tip generally when you're defending somebody in a murder case. The less time you spend talking about what your client did to make the dead guy dead, the better off you are. So whether he said what I actually did here, which is I ain't do no drugs, or whether he said I ate too many drugs, the fact that we're focusing on it, the jury is focusing on it, this has become an issue, is something that benefits the defense, because you're not talking about Derek Chauvin using deadly physical force. You're talking about somebody who's playing into the defense narrative that he was a drug addict, that he perhaps, although the toxicology we'll see, died at least in significant or substantial part from an overdose of drugs. It clearly impaired his judgment in terms of his initial refusal to comply with the police. So it doesn't really matter what he said as long as you're talking about George Floyd's drug use rather than Derek Chauvin's knee use.
Natalie Jackson.
Well, I heard I ain't do any drug, which could be an African-American vernacular that is being used. We see this in a lot of cases where there's a black defendant on trial. I mean, where there's a black victim or a black defendant even on trial, where there's a statement made and there's an attempt to reframe the statement. I think in the context of how it was said, there is clear indication that he's saying he was denying doing drugs again. And I think that I've heard a lot of commentators say that, this was a point for the defense, but it also can backfire on the defense. It can backfire because they lose credibility. If there's a 50-year-old black woman on this jury who has heard African-American vernacular before, and if they don't believe that this is why George Floyd said I ate too many drugs, there's been an emphasis by the defense that is what he said, and that could be seen as a reaching for straws and a grasping for straws. So I think that, it's a double-edged sword.
Ron, is there any issue here? Because if he ate too many drugs, we understand how that plays with the defense theory of cause of death. But if he's saying, I ain't do no drugs, and we know he's got drugs in his system, and they found drugs with his DNA on it, he's lying to police.
Right. It's a total, to the extent that this point becomes significant later on, and quite frankly, I think the toxicology experts and the medical examiners will have more to say about the effect that the drugs he took had on his overall well-being. I'm not at all convinced that even if he said what the defense said he said, his own subjective perception of his drug use is going to be relevant to the cause of death. But either way, he either ate too many drugs, which is a bad thing for the prosecution, or he's denying doing any drugs when, unfortunately, because of the autopsy, we know that, in fact, he did. Again, let's not talk about Derek Chauvin. If you're a defense lawyer, let's talk about almost everybody and almost everything else. It's what we do. It's why people love us.
Natalie, let me ask you about the special agent who has to basically recant and take back his testimony live in front of the jury. Is there a risk that somehow harms the credibility of him and the rest of the state's case? If you've got someone up there saying one thing on cross, and then when he's back on redirect, all of a sudden changing his testimony live in front of the jury.
Well, sure, there's a risk. There's a risk with this because the prosecution is the only person that has the burden of proof in this case. So everything that they say will be scrutinized. Once again, though, I don't think that the prosecution has denied that George Floyd was on drugs. I don't think that it can be denied based on the video that George Floyd was under the influence of some type of drug at the time. However, I think the prosecution is going to eventually, and this is what happens in closing, they're going to refocus this jury on the fact that George Floyd was walking, he was talking, he was moving, while he was allegedly under the influence prior to Chauvin putting him in a prone position, handcuffed with his knee on his neck. That's really the whole crux of this case. And I think that once we can say look over there, look over here, but at the end of the day, the crux of the case is whether or not George Floyd would still be alive had not Chauvin put his knee on his back or his neck and put pressure and caused positional asphyxiation.
Right. The back or neck, and that's the other issue that's happening inside the court. Julia, today, did that issue rise today as well? The position of Derek Chauvin's knee?
Very much so for multiple witnesses, exactly where the placement was, and during that 9 minutes and 29 seconds, whether or not it was on his back, whether it was on his knee, shoulder blade, they got very meticulous today in testimony evidence in front of these jury.
All right, Ron, let me ask you about that. Is that the exact position of Derek Chauvin's knee, whether it's on his neck, the base of his neck, between the shoulder blades, is it a big deal?
Standing alone, it's not. Standing alone, none of these things are particularly big deals. But a defense win here, what does a defense win look like? I mean, Derek Chauvin is not going to walk out of that courtroom a free man. You're not going to get 12 people to say not guilty of all of the charges. But if you can get 1 or 2 jurors to hold out for acquittal, maybe you'll get a mistrial. Or you may end up with a compromise verdict on the least serious charge, which is second-degree manslaughter. Derek Chauvin at some point should have been paying more attention to George Floyd. Yes, Derek Chauvin acted with culpable negligence. He was distracted by the crowd when he shouldn't have been. He wasn't paying attention the way he should have been. And that's manslaughter in the second degree. And that's the least serious charge. He'll end up doing about 2.5 years on that. That's what a defense win looks like, and that's what they're building toward.
All right, Julie Janae will rejoin us in a little bit. Rod and Natalie will stay with us. We'll come back. Some of the other big moments today. Another big day. I mean, every day things are happening inside this courtroom that can completely change the way the jurors are seeing the evidence. We'll talk about it when we return.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I did. Please have a seat.
Sir, I need you to tell the jury your name.
My name is Daniel Gross, Daniel Allen Gross.
You're Daniel Gross Jr., is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 15 years old.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 15 years old.
Okay. And you go to school here in Scioto County?
Yes, at Northwest High School.
Okay.
Speak up a little bit if you can. All right?
Almost like you're yelling at that officer in the back of the courtroom, okay? All right. Your parents are Daniel and Jessica, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you, not where you live, but who do you live with?
I live with my aunt and my uncle, Phyllis Triary.
Okay. And when did that happen, that you went to live with your aunt and uncle?
Up the near beginning of 2019, April, I believe.
Okay. Okay. And was that the
You're going to have to speak up. Scoot your chair forward. That'll help a little bit. All right. And just speak up real loud so people in the back can hear you.
Was that because Children's Services placed you there?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that was in April?
Yes.
All right. We're here today to talk to you about your baby brother, Dylan. Would you tell the jury, did you ever see Dylan with any injuries?
He did have some swelling in his head, but otherwise I did not see any injuries upon his body.
Was his head bruised in any way?
It appeared bruised, yes.
Okay, when you say it appeared bruised, tell him what you saw.
Like black and purple, what you would imagine as a bruise.
And where was that?
Upon all of his head, all the way around, most just top of his head.
Was there a time when
speak up a little bit?
And I can't see where he's indicating on his own body.
If you step up in front here, Ms. Scott, so you can see.
Was there a time when baby Dylan was no longer at your house?
For a period of a couple weeks, yes.
Okay. And then later, did he not, he was gone from your house also?
Explain that.
In other words, after you saw these injuries, what happened with the baby?
After I saw these injuries, he was around for a little while, and they seemed to deplete and kind of go down, and that was when he was disappeared for about 2 weeks.
Okay. Did you ask your parents about the injuries to the baby? Or did they tell you what happened to the baby?
They gave me explanation for the injuries, yes.
Okay. Who did that? Was that your mom or your dad?
My father.
Okay. Was your mom there?
At that time, yes, my mom was there.
Okay. What were you told about what happened to the baby?
Somewhere near the beginning, I was told about him getting a dream catcher stuck within his arm and him swinging a tiny stone up to his head. I'm not sure if that caused the swelling of his head. I believe it was.
Okay. You didn't do anything to hurt that baby, did you?
I did not do a single thing to hurt that baby.
Okay. Do you know who did?
I do not.
Okay. Daniel, I've talked to you twice before this, is that right?
Yes.
Ask you the same questions I'm asking you right now?
Yes.
Okay. When we talked before, and I'm going to ask you in here for the jury, was there a time when you were asked to give urine to either of your parents?
Yes.
Okay, tell the jury what you were doing.
It was like a cup that was it wasn't like a standard casual cup you'd grab out of a cabinet in your house. And it was probably about every couple months.
Okay. And who were you giving that to?
Mainly my father.
Okay. You know what did you see him do anything with it after you gave it to him?
I've seen him put it into like a capped lid bottle. That's all I've seen him do.
Okay. And this was before you were removed by Children's Services?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm so struggling here, and I couldn't hear whether or not he said mom or dad on who gave urine.
He said his father. You could step up here, Ms. Scott.
I just have a few more questions. Tell the jury when you first realized that your mom might be pregnant.
It was somewhere around in November, or near the beginning of November in 2018.
Okay. And you remember that because your birthday's around that time?
Yeah, and I remember the event of confronting my mother with it.
Okay. What did you say to her?
I simply just asked her, because I've been noticing for a while that she seemed to be swelling like she was pregnant. I had asked her about it, and she told me that yes, she was pregnant.
Okay. And you think that was early November?
Yes.
Just a minute. No, I have no other questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Mr. Stratton, do you have any questions? Ms. Scott, do you have any questions?
I don't hear anything to consult, make sure my notes are accurate.
Yes.
What is Scott talking to Stratton about? They're supposed to represent their respective clients. See, now I'm just getting annoyed. Crystal, you're nodding your head. What is happening? This is not a twofer.
It is not.
This is not the dream team.
It is
You
not.
represent your client. I represent my client.
Absolutely, I agree.
I'm telling you, I think this is dangerous. Let's hear what she has to say.
Good afternoon, Daniel. I just have a few questions for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And I apologize. Your voice was so soft, and where I was sitting at, I apologize. I have to go over this with you again, but I didn't hear a lot of what you said, so I just want to make sure I have my notes accurately, okay?
Okay.
Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. The injuries that you described to baby Dylan, I believe that you stated, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you saw his head a little bit swollen and a bruise. Is that correct?
It was most of his head that seemed like a bruise, yes.
Okay. And I know you were motioning and you were doing some motioning, and I'm sorry, my view was blocked. Could you point to that again?
Describing his head, it would be mostly upper of his, like his scalp. It wouldn't be his whole face, it would be just of his scalp and the top part of his head.
His scalp was a little bit bruised and it was swollen.
Yes, it was around all of his head, around about where you would expect hair.
Okay. And his head was tiny, correct?
Yes.
It was a tiny, okay. And did you see any cuts?
Cuts? No.
Okay. Did you see any, like, fresh blood?
No.
Okay. And can you please tell me again when you believe that you observed this injury?
Personally, I did not observe the injury. I came home from school one day and he had.
Oh, sorry, that was a bad question on my behalf. I'll re-ask the question. When did you see the bruising and the swelling?
I do not know the exact date of when it happened. It was sometime after the dream catcher incident I had described.
Okay, and so I know that you were taken out of the home on April the 24th, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me, obviously it was before that, correct?
Yes.
So do you know if it was around Easter time that year? Do you know how many weeks it was prior to you coming out of the home?
It might have been 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks before you were taken out of the home on April the 24th. Right. You saw the bruising and swelling 2 to 3 weeks prior to you being taken out of the home on April 24th.
I am a little bit unsure with I'd say more than 2 or 3 weeks. I am slightly unsure, but that's, yes.
So it may have been a little bit earlier than 2 or 3 weeks.
Objection, Your Honor, you say then no.
At first you thought it was 2 or 3 weeks, but it may not be 2 or 3 weeks now?
Looking back at the dates, I do believe it may have been longer, but I'm also not sure.
Okay. And then after you saw the bruising and swelling to the baby's head, you stated to Miss Hutchinson when she was asking you, at some point in time after that, you no longer saw baby Dylan at all. Is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recall when that was in relation to you being taken out of the home on April the 24th?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you know?
one, see it.